Greetings and welcome to Mount Olympus. I am Hercules Invictus, and tonight I'm proud to bring you the Diana Montford Show. Greetings, Diana. How are you?
Hi, how are you? I'm Diana Montford, the world's first transgender television journalist. Born male, became female, but we're not doing television tonight. We're doing our monthly podcast. And do I have guests for you? Hello, hello, hello. All my guests are wonderful and they're all special, but sit back, listen to this. I have celebrated twice Emmy-nominated actress, Ms. Eileen Kristen. You know her as the immortal Delia on Ryan's Hope, and as the equally immortal Roxy on One Life to Live. And Be Still My Heart. Twice Academy Award nominated director, Ms. Rebecca Camisa. And Eileen has produced and Rebecca has directed an amazing film called Heist, the documentary. And it is about Doge and how they mercilessly, heartlessly fired people who had been working for the government for decades. They literally said to them, you have 15 minutes to collect your things and leave the building. No severance, no notice, no anything. Just go. And they had to. And this obviously ruined lives, ruined families, ruined plans for the future, ruined everything. And we are going to talk to these two brilliant women about this amazing 40-minute documentary that they've produced. 40 minutes well spent. I believe you can access it on the internet, and you should, because this will just shock you and outrage you, and it's good trouble. This is the kind of outrage we want and need to counter the horrifying neo-Nazi fascist forces encroaching on our lives. My guests, Eileen and Rebecca. Hi there.
Hi, good evening. That was a great introduction. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
Wow.
So somebody tell us about the film?
Well,
you want to go, Eileen?
Well, I just want to say I've known Rebecca Camisa for more than 30 years, and she is a gifted filmmaker. And we've been friends, but I have just watched her become such an amazing artist. So one day I was sitting at watching the news, and I was just completely outraged and screaming at the TV. And I got a phone call for Rebecca, said, would you like to go to Washington? We really need to film the workers that are being fired from the federal government. And I said, hell yes. And Rebecca, why don't you explain what your original thoughts were on this?
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, to keep the Mutual Admiration Society going, when I got down to D.C., I thought, oh God, there's like no money. We don't have crew. We don't have a lot of the funding to make this film, but what we have is the chaos that was happening in real time in DC. And I was down there and I thought, God, who can I call to just do this together? And the first person that I thought of was Eileen. I knew Eileen had the balls to say, I'm getting on a train and I'm coming down right now. And that's exactly what she did. So we went out there, the two of us, trying to document everything that was going on earlier this year. So basically on January 20th, Donald Trump signed a flurry of executive orders prepared for him by basically a right-wing self-called Christian nationalist who really wanted to dismantle the federal workforce and get rid of regulators, inspectors general, and target certain agencies that I think he and many others had a beef against. Places like the Department of Education, clearly USAID was targeted. The CFPB, which is the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which protects consumers from fraudulent actors, that was shuttered. the EPA was under attack because, in his own words, Russell Vogt said he wanted to put them in trauma and he didn't want them to regulate industry. So we have these ideologues and these religious zealots making decisions and targeting the federal workforce. So I was asked to come down and just start filming right away, to just document this, not even think about it as a film yet, but to document just what was transpiring. And that's what brought me down. And then when I rang Eileen, she just came on down and we went at it together and just started filming for 3.5 months.
Yeah. And, you know, we just followed the story. We were very lucky. We had someone helping us, you know, just kind of point us in the direction of where the stories might be taking place. And
was it someone who had been let go from a government agency?
No, but you know, can't talk too much about that. But
I understand.
No, but someone, you know, in the know. And you know, we're not from Washington. We're, you know, so you need people to tell you, you know, where the demonstrations might be, where the rallies are. You know.
Yeah, I mean, the challenge for us, and the challenge is, and it says in the film, and if you quickly, I'll just plug where the film is. If you go to our website, www.heistthedocumentary.film, you go to the website and then you click and it'll take you to a YouTube site to watch the film. But the challenge with making a film about federal workers is that they're an invisible workforce most of the time. They're not allowed to speak to press. They're not allowed to go in front of media. They work very quietly. They're an invisible workforce. And that puts them at a disadvantage because most Americans don't know what they do and how they impact our lives. And they're an easy target because no one knows when they're under attack. So when we got down there and started filming, you know, there were those who got fired illegally and came out and started to try and go and meet their congressional representatives, and we were able to film them. But for most of the time, and Eileen, you can jump in on this, it was really hard to get people to go on the record. They were afraid they would get somehow penalized or harmed.
Yeah.
Let me ask you something.
Difficult.
Do they have to sign non-disclosure agreements when they are hired by the government?
You know, I would, you know, I don't know about the NDA, the legality of that, but I will say this: they take an oath to the Constitution. You know, for a federal worker to even be hired for a job, most of them, it takes a full year of vetting. They go through all these processes to even be hired, and they take an oath to the Constitution. So they're bound by certain restrictions. Some of them have jobs where they, you know, are privy to things that they can't speak about. So, you know, this makes it really tough for most of the federal workforce to really speak out about what's happened to them. So we did our best to be able to at least represent what was going on by showing up every day and documenting. Right, Eileen?
Yes. And some of the people that we filmed, you know, a week later said, listen, you can't use my footage because I may be hired back. I don't know. We had filmed, I'd say there were 10 people from USAID, and we had filmed them, and we couldn't use that footage. But it was
you're going to expand
tough.
the film, I believe. It's a 40-minute film, but given all that's happened, you shot in July, I believe, of 2025. And with all that's gone on between then and now, you have many more reasons to expand the film and to include new outrages against the Constitution and the employees of the government, don't you?
Well, yeah. I have a feeling more people may really want to speak to us and go, no, I'm going to speak up I think I could be wrong about that, but I have a feeling because now it's been a year.
Almost.
And I
January 20th. January 20th is the, sorry to interrupt, January 20th is the anniversary of that flurry of executive orders. So yeah, we're coming up. I mean, it will almost be a year of a lot of really important people being out of a job for really no reason. If I could ask a question, how have our lives gotten better by the loss of almost 300,000 federal workers? How have
Not
our
at all,
lives
but
gotten
the 1%ers have certainly, now they get still more tax breaks and more nonsense, more money, more resources. And they can screw us over, which is what they want. They don't care about us.
Well, there's something interesting. I was speaking to someone today who is a federal worker, and there, if you can believe this, there's over 100 words they're no longer allowed to use. They get these emails saying you can no longer say these words or use these words.
DEI, feminism, gay. Yeah, they had a terrible problem because they had some title with gay in it, and it was anything but pro-gay, pro-homosexual.
Yeah,
but it's ridiculous.
Well, so here are some of the words. Ready? You can't say diversity. You can't say queer. You can't say race and ethnicity. You cannot say racial justice. You cannot say social justice. You can't say trans. You cannot say transgender. You cannot say transgender military personnel. You can, I mean, it goes on. This is the word, this is the thought police, right?
If
they're trying to erase
dictatorship, what is? This is pure unadulterated dictatorship, period. Total fascism. And let me tell you what happened today. A Texas senator has called for the mass incarceration of all transgender people in this nation. Before it was just the activists, that would be me and my friends. Now it's all transgender people. This is out of the Nazi playbook.
Yeah, I mean, earlier this year, you know, if you want to talk about if we want to bring it back to the federal workforce for a moment, early this year, what did they do? They targeted transgender service members.
I know.
So right off the bat,
horrific.
Right. So right off the bat, they are targeting military personnel. It's none of my business who's transgender and what. It's none of my business at all. These are military personnel. That's how I see them.
And they want to do them out of their pensions. How do you like that? People who have worked decades in the military at the highest levels who happen to be transgender, they want to do away with everybody, all the transgender pensions for military folk. That is sick. That is just evil.
Well, they'll also probably extend it to the pensions of others. I mean, listen, that's why we titled the film Heist, because this is a total theft of democracy. It's not about money. It's about robbing and destroying and erasing our modern nation. And
Putin must be very happy. I'm sure this is his doing. He put that man in there so that our nation would be destroyed. As Khrushchev said circa 1961, we will bury you. Well, nice going, Khrushchev, wherever you are.
I mean, yeah, we just, it blows your memory banks, right? You just sit here and go, oh, God. So,
you know, it's just been exhausting and just a very sad time. I mean, the last 10 years have been extremely difficult ever since the jerk came down the escalator. But, you know, all of us, it's wearing on all of us to such a degree. You know, we need to know what we can do as Americans because we only have our one vote, you know, for our governor or our senators or our president, but we don't get to do very much of anything else unless we're activists and know, you know, how to make change.
I mean,
well, with your film, both of you have become activists, and now you're in the crosshairs along with me and every other activist in every other branch of activism.
Well, I
Yeah.
think people at this point may want to know what to do. I mean, number one, it's not just an attack on transgender people or anyone that they want to erase, any history they want to erase, book banning, it goes on and on. But it's an attack on science. The statement, there's news today where they're shutting down a climate research center, the climate research center in Colorado. So they don't want that reality. They want to erase that. They also have, as we state in our films, the National Institutes of Health. There's an attack on science and attack on health. And I think I don't know what's going to make people angry en masse, but one thing people can do, you don't have to wait until the midterms if those midterms even go on. One can call and flood their congressmen and senators' offices, not emails, flood them saying, I demand that you protect the federal workforce. Make them aware that you're concerned about the federal workforce because the federal workforce makes your Social Security payments come to you, okay? They affect our lives in so many ways. The Medicare and Medicaid office has been affected. The list goes on and on. People have to get angry and flood their offices with calls.
Well, you know what almost turned the tide? When Trump and company tried to withhold SNAP benefits just before Thanksgiving. Yes. Very nice. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that was so outrageous. 42 million people, kids, old people, sick people, veterans, single mothers, everybody, no food, tough doo-doo. You're not getting any. Well, that really was going to be a tinderbox for revolution. It was going to light the fuse. And they sensibly realized that was a step too far, and they backtracked. Mm-hmm. But now in January, we're going to have another government closure if mm-hmm. things happen. And who knows what's going to happen. And given the fact that it's alongside the anniversary of January 6th, people are going to be thinking, if they can rebel, we can rebel,
Well, also, I mean, what just happened? Congress just went home without hammering out an agreement so that insurance premiums don't go up.
That's going to do it. That is going, because now they're affecting the middle class. That is really going to do it, because the poor get Medicaid, but the middle class, that's it. Do not mess with the middle class, because they're the ones who foment revolution, use the working class to implement the revolution, mm-hmm. and then take over and become the elites, the middle class.
Well, it just shows. I mean, I followed the Senate and Congress since basically the early 90s on, and the weaponization, if I remember correctly, you can jump in. I really remember Newt Gingrich, that group, Trent Lott. They were the ones who really were into weaponizing Congress.
Absolutely.
And it's just descended ever since. And I think these guys, how dare they go home with their own insurance intact, health insurance, and they just don't care that Americans' premiums are going to go up. What does that tell you? It tells me that this whole government no longer functions, even on basic levels.
Well,
so
it's a despotic government.
How do you go home and face, your constituents? How do you do that?
I've been in politics for years. They dehumanize the constituents. You should hear them at cocktail parties laughing about the naivete of the constituents, making cynical jokes. Excuse me. And they have no respect for the public. They forget that this is a job which can be lost. They feel that it's divine right, like kings. I mean, like senators. They all think they're there forever. They're like silent film movies.
Well, they have been. A lot of them have been there forever.
And maybe that's the problem. They're there until they're senile. And this is not...
And beyond.
They do not... let me tell you something. Look, in every revolution, the French Revolution, the Russian Revolution, every revolution, the elites always feel that the guards will protect them. What they forget is this. The guards are of the people. They're not going to shoot their families and their friends for some guy throwing a miserable little paycheck at them. They're not going to do it. And this is what they're forgetting, that they are dancing on the edge of a volcano by jerking the people around. Every day it's something new. It's crisis a day Trump. Every single day there's drama. And they can't do this because people are Trump derangement syndrome. Yeah, with good cause. With good cause. Because he's deranging all of us with his caprices and his whims and his Nero-like nonsense of absolute power. This is the U.S. This is not the court of Nero, and it is not the czar who had total autocracy. This is not working, and they better get with the program.
Well, if I may highlight, and this is why I'm going to make another plea to listeners, is number one, in the film, there is a scene where a group of federal workers who are illegally fired finally, I guess they made a personal decision to show up and try and meet with congressmen and senators. So we filmed them going from door to door trying to meet and really ask these senators and congresspeople to intercede on their behalf, because Congress had the power to stop this nonsense, and they didn't do anything. And what that scene tells me is that if Congress is dysfunctional and won't even step up to support the federal workforce, right?
Won't even listen to them.
Right, wouldn't even listen to them. But so it's up to the people then, as you brought up, Diana, it's up to us, the public, to step in for a federal workforce that has always stepped up for our country. So once again, I think one way to make them aware, Congress and the Senate, is to flood their offices with calls demanding they protect the federal workforce and restore them to their jobs.
They cannot do that because they are hamstrung by the fact that the Republicans are the very small but all too telling majority, and they do not have the power to reinstall the workforce. They just don't have it. Because the MAGA folks,
SNAP, you brought up SNAP. Both Republican and Democratic areas were they reacted for a reason, because they knew it was, because they heard from people that was outraged, and they reacted to that. And if people rose up for the federal workforce in the same way, I'd be interested to know.
Because it doesn't affect them directly. When you don't have food and you can't feed your kids, that's one thing. But obscure people you've never seen in Washington, you're not going to care that much. That's just the reality.
But tens of thousands of workers all across the country are federal workers. Everyone thinks
it's going to affect people. It is definitely going to affect people at some point in the national parks. And, half the time we don't even know who are federal workers. People don't know.
That's my point. Nobody cares about them because nobody knows about them.
Correct.
As you said, many of them have to work in secret, so the public has no clue what they do, how they help the public. They have no clue. So, and it won't be skin off their backs if federal workers, or so they think, if federal workers lose their jobs. If they have food to eat and a roof over their heads, they're happy.
Yeah, but
it's all very creature comfort oriented.
For example, the National Science Foundation. This is an organization that has a real direct effect on rural hospitals. There's a lot of people living in rural...
many of those people are red states and they depend on Medicaid, which California and New York and Connecticut and other prosperous blue states are funding. There is a movement afoot to simply refuse to pay federal tax, to keep the money, and to, use it for the home state, which is an interesting proposition. And certainly the red states would feel the pinch, major pinch. But to go back to your film, I don't think that I did not know until I saw your film how many government workers there were, what agencies they worked at. I did not know how important they were. And I can guarantee you that people out in red states who make Archie Bunker look, like the most liberal person going, are not going to have a clue and not even care I read something on the internet. This is the only country on earth where people vote against their own interests because the elites tell them to.
Yeah. Well, what we do with the film, and this is important in the editing process, was not only did we want to show, footage in real time of what federal workers were going through, but we also created these agency montages where you start to learn a bit about what these agencies are, how they function, how they serve us, and then how they've been hit, how many people have been fired, how much the workforce has been cut. So, what we really wanted to do was really make people aware of how these agencies function in our lives while seeing them under assault. So
and
that
also, yeah, go ahead, Rebecca. I'm sorry.
No, I'm done. No, I'm done.
Well, I never realized that a lot of these programs and agencies were started during FDR's time in office.
God
the
bless
New Deal.
FDR. Yeah, who changed our nation. That's why you don't see old people eating out of garbage cans. Frances Perkins saw that, and she suggested, Social Security.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
but that's
what's
what they're
interesting
trying to get rid of. That's what this administration is trying to get rid of. Everything, that he created. And that, that put people back to work.
What's really interesting is, and I think he's a really great example, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, some of these programs, he didn't believe in them. Those were not his approaches, and they were not his programs, but they realized they had to save the country. So he brought together all of these different people in his first 100 days. Some were very right-wing and very conservative and very fiscally, conservative, and others were very, Frances Perkins, were very left-leaning and really about social programs. But he brought them all together and asked them to come up with these programs and these agencies and these platforms that he could get behind. He didn't always believe in all of them, but they knew they had to do something to save the country, and he as a president was willing to change his position and get behind things he didn't agree with. And
well, they were this close to revolution when that happened. This close. People were so fed up and had nothing to lose because they had nothing. They were this close to revolution when all these wonderful New Deal things happened. And, okay, in 1935, my father was 18 years old. His brother was 4 years older. When Social Security happened, my father said to his brother, boy, that's a dirty trick. Who's going to live to be 65? Because in those days, that was, very unusual. And now they want to extend the retirement age to 70. They want to do away with 65 and make it 70.
Oh,
anything
Jesus.
to screw us over.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
What was interesting, what was revolutionary, though, was the creation of these federal agencies, because prior to FDR's presidency, the federal government was not seen as being involved in people's lives. That's not what its role was.
That is why, I'm sorry to monopolize the conversation, but this is my field of expertise. That is why the Republicans want small government, so they can get away with swindling the people and keeping the money for themselves.
Yes, no, I mean, that, at the time, that was revolutionary, and of course, Roosevelt was labeled a socialist, and that he was going, it's just absolutely fascinating that what he was accused of, ultimately, those first 100 days saved a modern America and sort of formed the basis for how federal agencies serve a modern America. And they just want to destroy all of it. They want to destroy it. And that's what's happening now.
So far, haven't they?
Well, the legislative branch has capitulated, and here we are.
And getting worse by the second, I might add. Who knows what they'll come up with tomorrow? They don't take days off, and they work in the middle of the night. Stealth, cruelty, No,
it's cruelty. The part of the film that always just gets me is when Russell Voigt talks about wanting the workers to be traumatized. It's just disgraceful. It's shocking. We want them to be traumatized when they come to, so that they don't want to work there anymore. It's unbelievable to me.
It's horrible.
Frightening, but we got to do something. And, we're really trying to at least inform the public. And, we have the film on YouTube so that everybody can see it.
Here's the problem. They don't want to see it. They want to see mindless crap with TNA and, deep sex and gorgeous girls and gorgeous guys going at it like animals. That's what they want to see. They don't want to see things that make them think, because they're already uncomfortable, and thinking makes them more uncomfortable.
Well, I think
and they want to hide their heads in the sand. Yes.
I think the first step, though, is, no one's going to come and watch unless they know it's available. And, yes, there are some people that maybe don't want to watch documentaries or don't want to learn about the federal workforce, but I think there's a lot of people that may be very curious. And what our film is, it's 40 minutes, so it's not, too long, but it really is a good introduction. It does a lot. Our film is very ambitious. It does a lot in 40 minutes. It gives you a little bit of history.
And the ending is shattering. I won't give it away, but it's shattering. And, PBS, it would be the ideal venue for your film. Ideal. Especially now that they have no funding from the government.
Well, we were, when we went down to make the film, listen, I'm, how do I even begin? This isn't exactly the golden age of supporting documentary films that are social issue. It's been very, very hard. I speak for myself and hundreds of other documentary filmmakers who cannot get their films funded or cannot get their films broadcast. And we work really hard. We make really great films, and they don't see the light of day. And the groups that are buying documentaries and broadcasting them and streaming them are getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So when we set out to make this film, we didn't have time to get rejected. We didn't have time for people to say, okay, well, let's think about it. Let's give them 2 weeks, 3 weeks to finally decide to say no. We had to get on the ground. We had to deploy immediately and just start documenting. And right off the bat, we said, you know what? Forget broadcast, forget all these channels. We're going to make this film. We raised money, donations is how we made this film, and we put it out on YouTube for free. And we did that because we don't want a subscriber base. We don't want people who have to have a subscription. We want every single American to be able to watch this film and not have to pay for it. That was our goal, right, Eileen? From the very beginning.
Right, absolutely.
And your film was privately funded.
We just didn't really have time for anybody to say no, because you do have to sit around and you wait, and then they look at it.
My mother was a documenter, and she worked for 20th Century Fox. I know exactly how it works. But let me ask you this. Your film was privately funded, and you had a tough time scraping together the cash to film it, didn't you?
Yeah, but we had, you know what? We had... there were times when we were pretty damn broke, and then there were other times when people were so generous to us and opened their hearts to us. And I'm telling you, we got this film made because there were a lot of angels flying around us and really caring about this and wanting it to get done. Right, Eileen? Talk about you were under pressure constantly to find funding.
Yeah. And, and there were some people that I didn't call only because I knew they'd say, I'll get back to you on that. Somebody who I thought I was extremely close with, a gentleman who I admire very much in many ways. I assumed that I could get money from him. He's a man who has a lot of money. And it just wasn't on his... And he just couldn't put it on his plate that week. He was going through whatever he was going through. And I was very put off from that, quite honestly, but you got to get over that. And I did get money from people that I never expected to get money from, and someone who I got some money from said to me, if you need more, let me know. And I knew that we would. And so generous. She didn't want her name on the film, but it was such generosity. And I think there are people I can go back to. There are people that I didn't go to that I can go to probably this time, because now I've got something to show them and go, this is what we did. And this is what we'd like to do in January, February. Listen, we may be back there January, February, March. I don't know what we're gonna, be able to get. But
yeah, we have to raise money again to go. But there's definitely a part 2 to this, and we've been discussing about going back to do that. But I mean, yeah, because the year anniversary is coming up.
I feel like we owe something to these federal workers, whether people know who the hell they are or we know who they are. And and Rebecca, who's been doing films for the last how long, Rebecca? 30 years?
Around 27. Yes, around 27, but who's counting?
I mean, Rebecca always feels a responsibility to the people that she films. And,
well, there is that lovely lady who grew up in a small town with nothing. She was what people would call a hillbilly or something.
Absolutely.
She had nothing. She worked her way up. She suffered. She struggled, blood, sweat, and tears, and she did it. And along came Elon Musk and Trump and snatched it away from her. And luckily she got another job, but it destroyed her confidence in humankind. Never mind.
And in the government.
Yeah.
People don't have faith in their government for this to, for this to happen.
And that's the plan, Eileen, that you put your finger on it. They don't want people to have any little iota of faith in the government. They want to decimate it and destroy it.
Oh my God, though, that's so scary. It's so scary, though.
That's the point. That's the point.
Yeah.
That really is ultimately kind of the underlying point is as we spoke about before, they want to destroy and undermine and erase what got created during the New Deal and the Great Society, the common good. Remember, it was about the common good. They want to erase it. Because remember, if they didn't care about history so much, they wouldn't worry about book banning. They wouldn't try and change or stop the words that people can use, federal workers, the long list of words they're not allowed to use, like diversity and, insanity, right? So that is just the plan. Yeah. They just, let's keep it
and
simple.
some of the books they've banned are very feminist works like The Handmaid's Tale. And believe it or not, Sex and the Single Girl, which is sort of a jokey, funny, silly book.
Oh my God.
They've banned that, believe it or not.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, they want to erase our history. They want to, also, we haven't yet talked about the rebranding of buildings. Also, them wanting to demolish some of these buildings that were built in the 30s when they started these agencies. They want to demolish some of these buildings in DC that were the original building that where Social Security was first housed. That was a little bit of news that kind of didn't get even too much time spent on it.
Well, how do you
what they did to erase the history?
Center?
Huh?
The Kennedy Center. It's now the Donald J. Trump and Kennedy Center. That is ridiculous. That is so ridiculous.
It's horrific.
That's laughable. That is pathetic. That is just sad.
Right, but the plan is to erase what was there before, so it never existed. One thing that it's so interesting. Every time they announce something, the next day they immediately take it down, right? So remember, Eileen, we were filming all the federal workforce, but then the Black Lives Matter Plaza, remember? And then literally the next, go ahead.
Yeah. No, then I wasn't there on that day that they demolished Black Lives Matter, but they talked about it, and then yes, the next day, boom, gone and gone.
That's out of the George Orwell playbook. That's 1984. They would change the past to suit the present and to suit their own aims. And this is totally Orwellian, what they're doing. They're very clever about it. What was input from Hitler and 1984, the novel, they're very good at implementing these things. It's as though they're using these books as game plans.
Yeah, well, I mean, these are not the most creative people in the world. We have histories and histories of how autocratic regimes take over and how they run things. So everything these guys are doing isn't original and isn't creative. It's the same old autocratic, neo-fascist playbook. And we've seen this in history in other countries, and now the United States is experiencing it constantly. The constant barrage daily, the constant outrage daily.
Well, there has to be a tipping point. There has to be a point where people say, I've had enough. That's it. All right, you people are fired. Get your butts out of the White House yesterday. Because, I
thought that happened, though. I thought that happened, though, in 2020. People were sick of the Orange Menace, and didn't, and so what happened? Like, they're sick of this guy, and then this happens again? So, yes, there should be a tipping point. It always looks like there is a tipping point. But he lied to these idiots.
He said, I'll lower prices the first day, I'll end the war with Ukraine, I'll do this, I'll do that. It was
but he's lying
Santa
about
Claus
everything.
time.
What would make people think that after January 6th,
they don't think that's the point.
That fat slob sat while Rome was burning and lied, and just constantly lied for 4 years before that. Are we that stupid?
Because he connects with them.
We must be that stupid.
He connects with them. He tells them, look, I'm a racist too. I don't like women either. I don't like diversity. I don't like people of color. I'm in. You stick with me, we'll go right back to the 50s when all the white people ruled and nobody else had a shot, and it was only about men, and women were at home and barefoot and pregnant and worrying about waxy yellow buildup on the kitchen floor. We'll go back to everything you people love. And they believed him because, they don't think, they don't want to think. And now they're screwed because they've lost their farms. They're about to lose their SNAP benefits again, probably. They're going to lose everything. And all the immigrants, who they think were picking the lettuce. The immigrants, they're gone. Now go pick lettuce,
But there's a difference between the first Trump administration. I think there's an important distinction between the first Trump administration and then the second one. And that is definitely. when they first got into office, they tried a lot of things and couldn't achieve them. Why? Because there was a federal workforce, there was regulation, there was inspectors general. A lot of the shenanigans they tried to pull off, they weren't able to because of the rule of law and the regulatory authorities and the federal workforce. And when Biden was in, they had 4 years to go, okay, if we get back in from day one, we have to attack the federal workforce. We have to dismantle we have to dismantle what has kept us from just running roughshod over everything else. That is why on day one, these executive orders flew out, assaulting and illegally firing the federal workforce, getting rid of inspectors general, closing down the CFPB, closing down USAID, anything regulatory, because they knew if they got back in, once they decimated the federal workforce, anything goes. And that's where we are now. And that's a huge difference. That's a huge distinction of what's going on right now. They're getting away with everything because they've assaulted and dismantled a lot of the workforce.
We're almost out of time, I'm sorry to say. How can people access... I'm sorry, what?
Say that again, Diana?
I thought Hercules said something to me. Hercules is the producer of this show. Right, We're almost out of time. how can people access your wonderful, thought-provoking film?
Well, they can. Yeah, go ahead, Rebecca.
Yeah, go ahead, Eileen. Go ahead.
Well, first of all, if they just want to go directly to YouTube, they can go to Heist the Documentary Film. Don't put any spaces in between. Heist the Documentary Film, or they go to www.heistthedocumentary.film, and it goes to our page,
website. Yeah.
Our website, Heist, and it will take you, you go watch this film, and it will take you right into YouTube.
And there are many films called Heist on YouTube, so you have to make sure that you put in Heist the Documentary. Otherwise, there
You
are
have
a
to put
bunch of
Heist the
films called Heist.
Documentary Film. Heist
Yeah.
the Documentary Film with no spaces in between, right, Rebecca?
Yeah, I mean, you bring up a good point. This is the golden age of heists. So there's a lot of films named Heist. So I always just tell people, go to www.heistthedocumentary.film. And what you do is once you go to our website, it gives you a lot of information. It gives you, and one important thing it really does is it really, we give a breakdown of where we get our facts from. And it's important for people who watch the film to know that our film is all factually based, checked and rechecked, fact checked. And also there's a take action where you can, it also leads you to what you can do right now. So that's what I suggest. And you can click and you can watch the film as well. So I like the website because it gives a lot of things.
Yes.
And I strongly urge you to watch the film because it will open your eyes. I've been in politics 25 years. I had no clue as to how widespread the government agencies were, how many workers were involved, how much they regulated our lives, in a good sense regulated, i.e. looked out for trouble like poisoned food, like bad drugs, all that stuff that, can kill us, but Big Pharma doesn't care, and Big Food, they don't care, and nobody cares. But all these government agencies were keeping us safe, and now they are, at best, minimally staffed, if they still exist at all. And that is a real problem for us, all of us, the people. And, the air controllers, even the elites should remember that even in a private plane, you still have to deal with air controllers. So maybe getting rid of these people is not so smart,
None
Well,
of
that had backlash too. They did that, and look at the backlash that had. So, but Diana, can I just thank you so much? I mean, you've talked to us a couple of times now, and I just really appreciate your using your platform for us to talk about this film and the federal workforce. I'm really so appreciative of you
I'm
giving
so
us the
appreciative
time.
that you've done this work, that you've been uncomfortable in the blazing, and boy, Washington gets hot and humid, in the blazing heat of summer in Washington, that you've
we
left
love
your
the
comfortable
heat.
homes.
We love the heat.
Yeah.
We love the heat,
but
and we hate the cold.
We hate
well,
the cold.
Ditto, me too. But, I mean, you went to all this trouble. You probably risked your health out in that heat all day long, every day, and talking to people, and you didn't know if you'd be killed by the government. You didn't know that.
Well, you don't.
So,
you don't know who's following you. But
so I mean, I think it's great, and God bless you. I think, listen, and do expand the film or do a part 2, because now we have so much more to talk about, thanks to this crazy man and his cohorts.
Yeah, no, part 2 has definitely got to come. Guess what, Eileen?
Yeah. Okay.
Guess what, producer? It's time to start raising money to get back out there.
I know what my job is for the next month. All right.
Yeah, and now this film should have been under consideration for an Academy Award, and I'm sorry it's not.
Yeah, well, we
tried.
It's interesting. we tried. Strangely enough, the film got done at exactly the same time the deadline for the Academy submission happened. So we thought, since it's been done and it's ready, let's just throw our hat in the ring. So we did so. We didn't make it to the short list, but we did not make this film for awards. We made this film for one reason only, to document the insanity and the assault on the federal workforce and to get it to the American people. That was
All right,
our
one
goal.
last time. How can people access this film? One last time.
www. dot. Go ahead, Eileen.
www.heistthedocumentary.film.
Okay, my guest has been
www.heistthedocumentary.film.
my guests have been actress producer Eileen Kristen and director Rebecca Camisa. Both have been nominated for major awards for their work throughout their lives, and I strongly urge you to see Heist, the documentary.film. You cannot spend a better 40 minutes, and it will open your eyes. I'm Diana Montford. This has been the Diana Montford Show. Hey, even if nobody else loves you, I love you. So, you know, we're in this together. We're a team, all of us. This United Nations, United States. We are all in this together. So see you next month, third Saturday of the month from 9 to 10 New York time. Love you a lot. Bye.
Thank you all for a wonderful show. I wish you success with your mission and with your film. And happy holidays to all. May next year be a better year for everybody.
Thank you, Hercules.
Thank you so much.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.